Hi, I'm Wesley Smith, and I'd like to talk to you about the fine art of collecting fine firearms. Now, to start with, I started collecting a long time ago. So this is my Luger, and it's pretty heavy duty and solid. There's a lot of patina from time on here. This is probably the oldest gun I got. I think this is probably one of my first ones. It's a P37.5. They only made a handful of these also, but this had a selector on it. You could go full automatic right here and empty off 20 rounds. Again, a very extremely rare gun. Probably the only one known to exist. This actual broom handle was in Lake Powell. It was in a German submarine. The divers found it in a safe. They believed it belonged to the captain of the submarine, and so this is also undocumented at this time. But as soon as we get documentation, it'll be worth a lot more. This is one of my latest guns. It's a Civil War detective snub nose. Except, you know, they really weren't too. They had pretty big guns back then, so this is small for them. But secret agents, gunfighters, just about anybody that really needed firepower. This had a 9-shot cylinder, which is also rare. But this puppy packed a wallop. He could kill a bear in probably 2 or 3 shots if you got him in the eye. This is a highly coveted and collected gun. You very scarcely ever see them out in the market. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's been one on auction, so I can't really give you a price right now. But this is the only known example in the world, so I would assume that waiting around for an auction is just not going to happen. But anyway, this has a real nice feel in your hand. It fits good. It's also a steampunker. A lot of steampunk guys, detectives and stuff, whatnot, would carry this type of gun with them. Here's a very interesting weapon. This was Abraham Lincoln's. Smith & West developed this weapon, and they wanted the Union troops to be equipped with this. So they gave one to Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln really loved this gun. He thought it was the nicest gun he ever owned in his life. Didn't take care of it very well, but he used to get drunk and sit out on the porch and shoot bunny rabbits and stuff, and claimed that he wanted to get them damn revs. But this was the gun that he sat with. Later, George Custer took it on his trip out west to the Little Bighorn, and somehow Geronimo ended up with it. So he fought off a lot. He had a lot of battles with this, and then in history it just disappeared for the longest time to turn up at a yard sale in South Dakota, and I've had this gun ever since. If we could get documentation on this, it would probably be the $6 or $7 million for this gun, because belonging to Abraham Lincoln. Unfortunately, there is no documentation for it. We're looking for pictures of him holding it, but Smith & West came out with a military version of the same gun, hoping that the military would go for this. Unfortunately, the military didn't really want them to waste. They thought the troops, if they had a magazine full of ammo, they'd be wasting it. They don't really mind wasting lives, that's not a big deal, but wasting ammunition, that's a big deal. So they didn't really want the troops out there wasting ammunition. They kind of didn't like this gun because it had 19.5 shots. It was deadly accurate. A lot of snipers used this rifle. So this is one of the pride. This is the pride of my collection right here. Has a really nice feel. It looks great over the mantle and the fireplace. Well, they both do. I mean, you know, just a collection like this, it just impresses everybody. They're just like, oh my God. They think I'm really rich because I have these $1 million guns. Anyway, so that's 2 of my guns right there. Well, I guess I don't have to tell you what this puppy is. Here's my Thompson. I love Thompsons. I've owned several of them in my life, and this is one of my favorite ones. This is the 1928 military version. Babyface Nelson, John Derringer, Bonnie and Clyde, J. Edgar Hoover, all the criminals love this gun. And nobody really took care of it. There's a patina on this, a very fine patina that you just don't get any other way. But this is one hell of a 45 caliber machine gun. And the only other 45 caliber machine gun I presently own this time is firing is the very first 45. The very first submachine gun ever made. This was made in 45 long Colt because they didn't have ACP back then. This was made in 1892, and nobody even ever heard of a submachine gun before this puppy was made. That's why you can tell the Victorian type handling. They had an Italian designer design this. This is also another Smith & Wesson machine gun. As you can tell, there's a left-handed charger, which was extremely rare. The receiver kind of looks like a brake handle from a car, but that's not true. It's the same with the stock. Some people say that, well, that's an air pump from a bicycle, but that's just absurd. There's a lot of doohickeys on this gun. If you're looking for a gun with doohickeys, this is doohickey complete. All the doohickeys you want. There's a place to run your sling from. This is one heck of a piece of firepower, especially for its age. It was way ahead of its time. Nobody ever heard of a submachine. Well, this here is the forerunner for the Sten gun. This is a lightweight, quick to make, 9mm, and sort of has like a Bergman type milled barrel support on it. Left-handed side charging. You got two different sights. You got your rapid fire and you got your peep sight in case you want to do some sniping work with it. It has a metal stock. Pretty friendly. Not a lot of controls on this puppy. Pretty damn lightweight too. I could carry, if you went to a party or something, you could carry this all night, no problem. And it really is a lightweight gun, especially compared to my other guns. This puppy is really light. It's a joy to carry, and it's a small caliber, as you can see, so that you know, you save a lot of ammunition by not spraying a lot of ammunition around. This is a 38 round magazine, by the way, and it also acts as a hand grip, so when you're holding your gun, you can and you can lay on the ground and shoot this thing too if you have to. If you get into a firefight and you need to lay on the ground. And one of the latest machine guns I've added to my collection. This just came in. I was lucky enough to get this. This is a sub gun. The reason it's made the stub gun is because this was made for submarine warfare. The Empire needed a submachine gun to arm their submarines, because if you try to climb through the hatches with a big old rifle with a bayonet on it, it's kind of tough. So they wanted a little tiny submachine gun to be able to carry out in the deck with them. So they asked for this. Well, it turned out they didn't actually have any submarines. What had happened was that their battleship sank, and they didn't really want anybody to know that their battleship sank, so they told everybody it was a submarine. And of course, they didn't really need a submarine gun because they didn't really have any submarines. But they figured that the war really wasn't going to catch on. The Great War, you know, they figured, yeah, it's just a fad. Nobody's going to go for it. So everybody went home, and nobody fought in the war, and nobody ordered any guns. And it's a shame, because this gun was way ahead of its time. 30 caliber. It was kind of bent up and it needed a little bit of work, but so anyway, this is my 30 caliber Browning right here. I don't know how well you can see that, but this is being restored at this moment, so that's why there's some shiny metal on it. We're gonna bring this thing back into shape again. But yeah, you know, you're always finding machine guns out walking the dog and stuff. There's always these crash World War II airplanes, and you know, I'm always finding this kind of stuff, so I just figured, well, that'd be a nice gun from my collection. This is a Browning 30 caliber, being restored by my shop at this very time right now. And anyway, so that's the Browning 30 caliber. This one here was the one left over from the Great War. It was found in a trench, a collapsed trench. It was made for Boy Scouts and children. They were running out of troops during the Great War, and they didn't really have any men left because most of them got killed. So they had to start employing children to fight the war. And this was an early children's model, very small. It was a 22 long rifle. They didn't want them getting scared, so this has spent a lot of time in a trench, so it's not in the it's needing just a little bit of work. Some people say that looks an awful lot like a thermos, but they don't know what they're talking about. So anyway, there is the whoops, and then there's oh man, there's a lot of parts to this gun. And you talk about big bore. This has been in my collection for a long time. This is my 50 caliber. I've had this in the collection for a long time now. And we're going to talk about 50 calibers. We already got a 50 caliber aircraft mount here. I've had this mounted in my helicopter for quite a few years. It's very effective. You can shoot up to maybe 2 miles away. Right now we don't have an ammunition box on it, but it's coming along. So this is my second 50 caliber. Not many people get to own one 50 caliber, and I own 2 of them. I've always thought my life was blessed. But I have generously donated one of my Thompsons to the Native Americans. So that's basically, this is one of my very early Thompsons. I think I've had several Thompsons over my lifetime. She also got donated a Schofield revolver. That used to be in my collection also. But she carries it with a concealed permit, and it fits in her purse nice. So she really likes that gun. I've had this M60 for a while. It's kind of a cross between an M34, M42, and an M60. It's in 308, and it doesn't have the bipod, and it doesn't have a mount for a bayonet either. They were deleted in this model, but when I made several of these over the years. This is probably about 10 years ago, but. This has a very unique ammunition feed. Usually they feed from the other side of the can, but this one it gives you, so you know when the last 15-20 rounds are there, you'll know before you run out, and you can have your loader give another box of ammunition in here. Now we're talking about a Lewis. You know that Lewis was a very smart person. It's a shame that politics were against him. But it was a pretty light machine gun for World War I, mostly armed aircraft. Of course, it was noted here that it was also a steam-powered motorcycle, was armed with one, but this is another fully automatic weapon in my collection. We have some really neat guns in my workshop here. They're all being restored. I had John Wayne's gun. We have one of John Wayne's guns here. As you can tell, is also in restoration mode right here. We're getting this all fixed up. It'll probably be worth several $1 million when I get done with it. But at this point, we're definitely finding parts. They're hard to find parts for. You just can't go to your Napa and get the proper parts for this. So it takes a little bit of time to build these antique, very historic machine guns. That's the gun collection that I have at home, and this is my shop. This is where we work a lot. Okay then, well, thanks for being with us.